This is a true story. On a warm summer's day in the year 1856, a square-rigged clipper ship rode at anchor in the bustling port of New York, taking on cargo to be delivered to San Francisco 7,000 miles away. She was called the Neptune's Car, and her master was Captain Joshua Patton.
They're just about done with their cargo, sir. Another load or two will finish it. I expect you'll be wanting to take a look at the manifest.
Still no sign of Mr. Finch? All right, I'll keep an eye on things up here. You best take a look below. See if you can hustle the men along. We're hours behind as it is.
Aye, sir.
All right. Look alive down there.
Josh, I'm in a terrible fix. I can't decide which of these prints to hang. Tell me, which one do you prefer? Oh, dear, poor Josh. Darling, I know it's been difficult, but I wish you wouldn't fret so about Mr. Finch. After all, no first mate is indispensable.
I'm not fretting, I'm fuming. There's a difference.
Well, could you try fuming without frowning? You're adding years and wrinkles. Besides, if I know Mr. Finch, he'll show up sooner or later. Most likely when the work's all done.
Very reassuring. For your information, in exactly 3 hours, I intend to get underway with or without Mr. Finch.
Good. And if you get caught short-handed, I'll fill in for him. And don't think I couldn't do it. Ah, that's better. Now, which one should I hang?
Oh, now, Mary, for the love of heaven, don't tell me you're going to fuss up the cabin again.
I'm not fussing, just rearranging. It's a woman's privilege to putter around her own home.
Home? Not much of a home, I'm afraid.
It's all the home I want, Josh. It's made me very happy.
I hope so.
Oh.
What is it?
Mr. Nickerson, and someone's with him. Oh, and look at me.
Oh, no need to fuss. After all, he only owns the ship.
Morning, Josh.
Good morning.
Captain Patton, Mr. Comstock.
How do you do, sir? Captain?
Ah, Mary, my dear. May I present Mr. Comstock? This is Mrs. Patton.
Delighted, Mrs. Patton.
Josh, do you suppose we could accommodate the government by putting up with this fellow all the way to San Francisco?
I'd be honored, sir.
Well, that's fine. Especially since the government's mighty catawamptious about his going. Seems like they want him to shepherd some special cargo you've got on board.
Special cargo?
Well, it's not really impressive, Captain. Just some cloth, flour, tobacco, tools, mill equipment, that sort of thing. You see, last year, the government signed treaties with most of the important California and Oregon tribes. Among other things, in exchange for peace, we promised the Indians an annual allotment of supplies to be delivered on the first day of each October. And unless we want a full-scale war, it's vital that we continue to show our good faith by delivering these supplies on schedule.
And your job is to see that they reach San Francisco safely.
No, Captain. That's your job. Mine is to see that you never forget it.
Well, we'll do our best, sir. I can promise you that.
I'm sure you will.
Well, I must get back to the office. I wish you all a successful voyage. Goodbye, Mary. Goodbye.
Captain. Yes, what is it?
Mr. Finch is just coming aboard, sir.
Oh, he is he? Oh, Mr. Comstock is my second mate, Mr. Davis.
How do you do, sir?
Davis, find Mr. Comstock quarters, please.
Right this way, sir.
Mr. Finch! You're 15 hours late, Mr. Finch.
I know, sir. But begging your pardon, Captain, it was something that couldn't be helped. It was me uncle, sir. All of a sudden, he was took terrible sick, and I had to look after him.
Sick, eh? If he spent his time in your company, he'd be dead. Of rum poisoning.
Oh, no, sir. It was nothing like that. I didn't have any more than a couple quick ones to settle me, you know. And seeing the old man suffer like that.
I don't propose to debate with you, Mr. Finch. What you do ashore is your own affair, so long as it doesn't interfere with your duties. But the next time it happens, you'll be looking for another berth.
And so the Neptune's car spread her sails to the breeze, eased her way into the loneliness of the Atlantic, and pointed her prow to the south, toward Cape Horn.
Mark. 37 degrees, 14 minutes, 10 seconds.
Teaching your wife the complexities of navigation, Captain?
Mr. Comstock, there are times when I calculate she could teach me. If she'd been born a man, she most likely would have a ship of her own.
So you see, it isn't my lack of knowledge that handicaps me, just these skirts. Don't worry, Mr. Comstock. I'm quite content with my life just as it is. You know, I'd rather be your wife than skipper of all the ships at sea.
Off the West Indies, as storm clouds continued to gather, the seas turned mountainous and the winds began to rise.
Looks like we've caught a brisk one. Keep a sharp eye, Mr. Finch. If it gets any worse, furl the spanker and reef the topsails.
Aye, aye, sir.
Thought you might be needing this. Looks like it's turned into a nasty one.
Yeah, it's inside I need warming, Mr. Davis, not outside.
Are you crazy? Drinking on watch? The captain finds out.
Yeah, don't sermon me. The only way he'll find out is if you go running to him.
Getting worse, Captain?
Nothing serious enough to drown her.
Enough to make us lose time?
Who can speak for the winds of heaven, Mr. Comstock?
Supper is ready. Will you sit down? Mr. Comstock, what would happen? Well, I mean, supposing we couldn't reach San Francisco by October 1st. Would it be terribly serious?
I take it you've never seen an Indian war.
I've never seen an Indian.
Well, I have. At least the aftermath of one. My brother and sister-in-law and their 2 children. Tiny little tots. They were caught by a raiding party of Choctaws in the territory. I saw the result.
Oh, I'm terribly sorry.
There's one thing I can't understand, Mr. Comstock. If the Indians are so bent on war, I can't see how a few supplies will change anything.
It's not the supplies, it's what they represent, Captain. Don't you see, a full-scale war could be checked if the Nez Perce and Yakimas remain neutral.
I'm beginning to understand your concern.
We'll be in San Francisco by October, Mr. Comstock. You've had my promise. Stay below, Mary. What the devil's the matter with you, Finch? I gave orders to have that spanker furled. Look at it!
It's all right, Captain. She'll ride her out like a bloomin' cork.
Why, you filthy sot. Do you realize what this means? It'll be worth a man's life to go aloft in this wind.
Never hurt the lads. It'll make men of them.
Davis! You'll spend the rest of this voyage in irons, Finch.
Nobody puts Finch in irons. I'll take the bloody ship for myself first.
done a proper job of tilling his toenails, sir. They had it coming for a long time.
I'm afraid this means we'll have to double our watches, Mr. Davis.
No trouble, sir.
Oh, Mr. Davis, one other thing. It'll be a nasty job, and my apologies to the men. But we better get busy on those sails before we go under.
Aye, aye, sir.
Hugging the coast of South America, the Neptune's car continued sailing southward. Below the equator, summer became winter, and winter off the Cape is cold, very cold. Now the long hours of double watch began to take their toll of Patton's energy.
I brought you some coffee. It's way after midnight.
Oh, darling, your face looks so tired, so drawn. You've hardly any eyes left.
Oh, I've stood longer watches in my day. You know what the worst part is? Having so little time with you.
It's the worst part for me, too, Josh.
Anything wrong, sir?
Oh, I couldn't see for a moment. Just a headache, I guess. Nothing a few hours rest won't cure. Take over, Mr. Davis.
Captain! Captain! Mary. Mary. My eyes, Mary.
Everything's going to be all right, Josh.
Mrs. Patton. How is he, ma'am?
There's no improvement, Mr. Davis. He couldn't rest all night. He still can't see anything.
Now, don't you fret, ma'am. He's just plain wore out, that's all. Be good as new after a couple of days' rest.
Mrs. Patton, does your husband have a sort of medical book on board?
Well, yes, there should be one on the desk.
I'd best get back on deck. If there's anything I can do.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. But I expect you'll have your hands full just running the ship.
Running the ship?
Well, I believe you're the highest able-bodied rating aboard at the moment.
Being the second mate's one thing, being skipper's another. There's too much I can't handle. No, ma'am. That's a job for Mr. Finch, not me.
Well, you know that's out of the question. He knows what's facing him once we dock. There's no telling what he'll do if he ever gets control of the ship.
But you have no choice, ma'am. Who else is there?
Well, I'll take command of the ship myself, Mr. Davis, before turning it over to Mr. Finch.
Well, I don't know, ma'am. I mean, well, I was wondering about the crew.
I assure you I'm perfectly capable, Mr. Davis. I know this ship as well as any man aboard. What's more important, I can navigate. With your cooperation, I'm certain we can manage to stay afloat until the captain's on his feet again. I'm hoping that'll be within a few days' time.
I'm afraid it's likely to be more than that, Mrs. Patton.
What do you mean? What is it you found?
Please remember one thing. I'm not a doctor, and there's considerable margin for error. But I've seen symptoms like this before.
It isn't necessary to prepare me.
I'm afraid your husband has brain fever, Mrs. Patton.
Brain fever. Are you sure?
I only wish I were not so sure. It's all down here.
Oh, dear God.
Patton. Mary. There's always a chance.
Oh, you're right. There is a chance. Port Stanley. It's in the Falkland Islands. We passed it 5 or 6 days ago. Don't you see? They'd have a doctor, the proper medicines, the thing Josh needs. Oh, the winds won't favor us any, but we ought to be able to make it back within a week at most.
A week. And today's already August 12th.
Mary. Mary.
Here I am, Josh.
He'll have lucid moments. Brief.
Mary. I can't see.
Oh, darling, everything's going to be all right. We're going back to Port Stanley tonight. You'll have a good doctor and rest and care.
Turn back? No, Mary, don't turn back. There's no time.
What do I care about time? Oh, darling, all I want in the world is for you to get well.
Mary, listen. The cargo. So many lives depending on it. It's my job. Don't turn back.
Josh, please let me decide.
No, Mary. I've made my promise. Don't break it. Is Comstock here?
Right here, Josh.
Don't let her break my promise. Keep the ship on.
Well, what do you want me to do? Turn my back and let him die?
No, Mary. Neither of us will turn our back on him. I know how difficult this is for you, Mary, and I wish I could help. But no one can make this decision for you.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean... Would you stay with him a while, Mr. Comstock? I need some air. I want a few minutes to think. Yes, Mr. Davis, what is it?
Well, ma'am, we've been asked to speak for the crew and... Well, it's nothing personal, mind you, only...
It's this talk about you taking over the ship, Miss Patton.
It's crazy, that's what.
The crew won't hold still for it.
I see. Have they anything else to suggest?
It's not that we got any love for Mr. Finch, but we'd sleep better with him running things.
I've already made it quite clear to Mr. Davis that that is impossible.
Then it looks like you're in for your troubles, ma'am.
A mutiny?
Well, you're for sure down to a one-man crew. That's me.
I'm very grateful for your loyalty, Mr. Davis. Have you anything else to add?
We're just given fair warning, ma'am.
And I'll return the compliment. The destination of this ship is San Francisco. The date of arrival to be no later than September 27th. As captain, I will consider any attempt to alter the course of this ship or to inhibit its progress by so much as 1 hour an overt act of mutiny. Now we've all had fair warning.
He's calling for you. There's something else I think you men should know. Mrs. Patton has had a hard choice to make. With a doctor's care, her husband could have a decent chance. But that would be a delay. Perhaps a fatal delay. She's gambling her husband's life on her ability to bring this ship into San Francisco. That's the kind of courage I've never seen anywhere before. And from a woman. I wonder if any of you are men enough to match it.
Well, if the captain's sick, what are you waiting for? Get me out of here. I gotta take over.
You ain't taking over nothing, Finch. The captain's wife is in command.
You're lying to me. A woman doing my job?
Well, it ain't my fault.
A woman.
Mary?
Yes, Josh. Oh, go to sleep, darling. Everything's gonna be all right. September 18th. Crew grows more sullen every day.
Come here, Hanson. Look for yourself if you can make sense of the stars and see what the woman's doing.
She's got us this far with no help from you.
This far? And where's this far, Hanson? I'll tell you. More than a month you've been under her command, and you're nearer Australia than San Francisco. I know. She's steering this ship into reef waters that'll chew her up and spit the pieces to kingdom come. You swillpots. You deserve to die. A lot of you.
Well, if my calculations are right, Mr. Davis, we should be in San Francisco by the 25th.
Good.
Finch claims we're heading into reef waters, eh?
That's what he told me. And he should know.
Why?
He's a good sailor if he's nothing else.
What does a woman know about navigation?
Come on, lads. Look lively. Mrs. Patton just said we ought to be in San Francisco in 5 days.
I don't understand it, Mr. Comstock. There should be seagulls.
We're giving her to the 25th. That's 5 more days.
Are you now? And then what, Mr. Hanson?
Then it'll be your ship, Mr. Finch. You see anything, Foster?
Aye, water. And not one gull in sight.
And today's the day, the 25th of September. And I've had enough. Let's get that key and put a sailor in charge.
Now, easy, lad.
Have you any business on this deck?
We've finished our waiting, ma'am. We're throwing in with Mr. Finch. I'll trouble you for the key to them irons.
And I'll thank you to clear off this deck right now.
I'm asking for the last time, ma'am. All right, we'll go below and take it.
Start it!
You look over there, I'll look in the desk.
No!
Get here! Now, here, keep looking.
Look what you've done to the captain! Get out of here!
That's what we want. Clear out!
Land ho! Land ho! Up to starboard! Land ho!
Land! Let's go, land!
I'll take what's coming for this, ma'am, and add I'm sorry for it. I just didn't think a lady could do it. I thought Finch could.
Mary. Mary. He's going to make it, Mary. It's going to be all right.
Mary.
Josh.
And so, after 52 days, Mary Patton's job was done.